The instructional plan that I have created is for improving fact fluency, specifically for incoming fifth graders. The problem of practice is broken up into four categories: efficiency, accuracy, appropriate strategy use, and flexibility. Students struggle with fact fluency when they don't automatically know their skills, are not solving it correctly, if they're using strategies such as finger counting, and if they are thrown off when different strategies are used because they are only knowing how to use one approach. Why fact fluency? I chose this because from my observations, my students are getting really stuck on different math problems because of lack of skill in this area. Fact fluency builds confidence. Math scores have decreased over the last 4 years, and I believe this could be a cause. Math problems are increasing in difficulty as students are moving to the next grade level, and these basic math facts can help across all content areas in math. This is what the data shows for my school related to math MAP scores. There are students in the below category in all 4 years, as well as a high percentage in the warning category. Majority of our students are meeting, while not many are exceeding. A lot of our students are dropping in these MAP score areas, and I do believe fact fluency has an impact on that. Here's some current research that supports this problem of practice. Students are not progressing at grade level, and they are taking a lot of time to solve problems, and that's due to this fact fluency. And that can cause students to become stressed when it is taking too long. They are finding that elementary age students who are doing problems are making errors in the actual fact fluency area in that basic computation and not actually the process that they are solving. Time tests can cause more harm than good. It's stressing students out, and it is not helping them put those facts into their long-term memory. And they're not able to really understand more complex learning and really understand different concepts because they are focusing so much on solving those basic math facts. There were 6 instructional strategies in the research I found, and they are all great strategies. Most of them are great strategies and have a lot of value to them that can be used inside the classroom. So we have the mnemonic strategy approach, determining repetition based on prior knowledge, interleaving games, formative assessments, and time tests. Determining repetition based on prior knowledge is where teachers would determine prior knowledge through basic assessments as students enter their new grade level, in this case, fifth grade, and that would determine the amount of repetition needed for that individual student. Repetition can be given in many different ways, such as flashcards or, in some cases, time tests. Interleaving is rotating skill practice rather than just mastering one skill, such as multiplication, and then moving on. So using worksheets, activities, and lessons with multiple focus areas will keep the students practicing all of those different types of math facts at once, which is really valuable. Games, these can be online, independent with a group, or as a whole class. These can be very engaging for students. Formative assessments from the research were specifically student interviews, students discussing the strategies that they use and that work best for them, teacher observations, and the students journaling and writing down the strategies that work for them when it comes to fact fluency, basic math facts, etc. And time tests, like I mentioned. These time tests usually are broken up into division, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and they're usually about 60 seconds if they are a mad minute, and the student has to complete as many of these problems as possible in those 60 seconds. Here is a strategy comparison table for these 6 strategies, if they are impactful or feasible, considering those 2 components. Going back to the time test was the lowest impact because this causes more stress on the student and they are more focused on the speed and how many they are solving rather than the accuracy. And that is not something that's going to be going into their long-term memory. All of the other strategies do have a medium to high impact, some more feasible than others, and they're all valuable in their own ways. But the chosen instructional strategy was the mnemonic strategy approach for a variety of reasons. A fact fluency building strategy that involves associating a word or a picture with a number. So, this is a very visual learning instructional strategy, which I have found for my classes is a very beneficial thing. This helps it go into the long term memory with the pictures providing a visual image for students, and it really helps with that recall. It's focusing less on speed, it's focusing less on memorization, and it is not something that's going to stress the students out. Here's an example below of what this might look like when a teacher is modeling for the students. How will this be implemented? So teachers really need to focus on modeling and providing different examples so the students have a strong understanding of how this can be used in an efficient way. Explaining the reasoning behind this and then setting a goal. For example, I want to master my 1 through 12 multiplication facts using this strategy by a certain date, and doing that with division, subtraction, and addition. Providing repetition for those students, allowing a lot of time to practice over and over again is really valuable, and then really monitoring that. Students need to know what fact fluency is, what it means to be automatic, know what a mnemonic device is, and why this is so important. Students need to be able to apply this strategy not only for their math facts, but then within other problems like multi-step problems. And then students need to also be on board for that repetition and really practice a lot. Classrooms need to allow for that collaboration and encourage students to work together, come up with their different approaches together and quiz each other, have multiplication charts to check their work, mental math strategies in the room, not necessarily finger counting, and growth mindset posters to encourage student confidence. Lastly, student work needs to demonstrate ability to solve these fact fluency skills accurately and efficiently. So they're solving a variety of math problems such as multi-step problems, fractions, decimal and area problems, volume problems, and scientific notation, all fifth grade content. This is the action plan timeline for what this might look like in a typical school year. So this begins with the instructional coaches working together to provide a professional development, including different materials and how this approach can really be implemented into the classrooms. It will then go on to the teachers who can start working with those coaches and their grade level teams to really understand the strategy, when this can be used, how this will be assessed, and so everybody's really on the same page. Once it's brought into classrooms, instructional coaches can come back into the process to observe and to support and to continue with those professional developments. Teachers will continue to integrate this, and then hopefully by May on that MAP test, it can really be assessed if this is improving student MAP scores as we're integrating it into the classroom, and if anything needs to be changed as we hit that May and June point at the end of the school year. Lastly, how will this be evaluated? It's really important that teachers are all on the same page and that there is a common goal, and that we can actually determine if this approach is successful or if there needs to be something changed. So in-class assessments are needing to be there. So students solving multi-digit multiplication problems as well as long division problems. This will give students opportunities to show those fact fluency skills, and if they're showing their work in these multi-step problems, teachers can actually see the thought process of the students and being able to see those little basic math facts solving on the side as they are doing the actual whole problem. Like I mentioned, that MAP data, students take that MAP test 3 times a year. So we want to look from the beginning to the end of the year to see the growth. And the MAP fortunately breaks up the scores into smaller sections, so we can really see where that computation error might be happening with our students and how they are scoring. And lastly, just a simple Google form for everyone involved in the action plan to make sure everyone's voices are being heard and to see if there's anything that might need to be changed, or if they are seeing that improvement in their students as we move on to implementing this in the future. To conclude, as students are developing these math fact skills and this fluency, it will really help build their confidence and their skills to solve harder math problems as we are introduced into algebra and other math content areas. From my own observations, many of my students are coming to a standstill with certain math problems, and it's not because they don't know the process, it's because they are getting stuck on those basic multiplication, division, addition, or subtraction problems, and they don't have a great strategy to solve them and aren't really fluent in them. Overall, this will really set up our students for success as they move on to the next grades with more challenging concepts. As teachers, just like we talk about with the problem of practice, we don't want to put this on our students. We don't want to assume that they haven't mastered this skill yet. So it really needs to be a prime focus of our instruction and something, like I said, with the repetition that needs to continue to be taught in class, in practice, and providing the best strategies possible as students continue on in school.